Good afternoon, year three. I hope you've all had a brilliant weekend and you're ready for our final week of learning of this half term. I don't know about you, but I think it's gone quite quickly actually. And once again, just to reiterate what we've been saying on our great assemblies and in our feedback, you are all great. You have all been doing really, really well in these strange times. So, history today, then, this afternoon, in our wonder lesson. Before we move on to today's concept, I just want to do a quick shout out for two children from last week. I've got a little rewind. And last week we looked at the Greek soldiers, and we now know that Greek soldiers are called hoplite soldiers. Your task was to label all the different features of a hoplite's armor and write a little summary underneath about why it was important and how it protected. So first of all, we've got Michaela. Well done, Michaela. I loved your drawing and I love the colour and the detail that you put on it. You put the extra detail about the horse hair on the helmet, and you correctly labelled all the different parts of the armour and weapons. And underneath, you can't quite see on this picture, but you have written a short sentence to summarise what each of armour is for. So well done, Michaela. Wupong, and your teacher will have put on some dojos for you. Fantastic effort. You are great. Keep it up. And Ellie, I know I gave you a shout out in Great Assembly, but I just wanted to show everybody your shield that you had made. Again, there were lots and lots of fantastic creations that people have made: swords, spears, helmets at home. But I particularly like this one, Ellie, and I like your design. It looks like some sort of scorpion type logo on the front of your shield for your city state. So big well done to you, Ellie, Wupong, and I know Mrs. Weston will have put some dojos on for you. So it's important that we remember about our hoplite soldiers, because today we're going to learn about a famous battle in ancient Greece. So let's have a look at our what, how, and why for today. So Monday, start of a brand new week, Monday the 8th of February 2021, February already. And I've got my wonder subject, we're doing history. So our what is to know that the Battle of Marathon was a significant event in ancient Greece. New learning is practiced because we don't know about the Battle of Marathon yet. We are going to by the end of this lesson though, so do not worry. And why? So that we can complete our cause and effect model on this infamous battle. Don't worry if you haven't heard of that model. That is what we're going to complete by the end of today's lesson. So our history lesson today is all about this, the Battle of Marathon. Okay, we're going to answer some questions about it. So, by the end of this lesson, we are going to know who the Battle of Marathon was between. Who was on one side of the battle, who was on the other. We're going to know where in ancient Greece this battle happened. We're going to know how the battle was won or lost. We're going to know how many soldiers each side had. And we're going to know who told everybody that the battle had finished. Now, we're going to come back to these questions after we have completed our learning today. So the next little bit is going to be quite a lot of me talking and giving you the knowledge and explaining about the battle. But it's really, really important that you are listening and paying attention, because we're going to come back to these questions and answer them once we complete our task at the end of today's lesson. So, are we ready? Let's find out about the Battle of Marathon then. So, way back at the start of this half term, we looked at our map of ancient Greece. And we know ancient Greece is not one country, it is split into city-states. And we use the exact same map, and we learned about Athens, about Sparta, Olympia, Mount Olympus, Crete. We also know that these city-states used to battle against each other over things such as territory and land. Okay, so they're all part of ancient Greece, but they're used to battle. Now, for the Battle of Marathon, this was the first time that all of these city-states united, they came together to work together to take on the Persians. Now, the Persians is another empire, okay? And they are the people that fought the Greeks in the Battle of Marathon. So all the city-states came together. They were one side fighting for ancient Greece. And on the other side, we had the Persian Empire. Now, let's have a look at the Persian Empire. On my map here, you can see this area here and all these islands is ancient Greece. Okay, so it's relatively small amount of area compared to the size of the Persian Empire. Now, everything in this red area on my screen is the Persian Empire. Okay, so they were quite close to the Greeks, but look at the size of it. This is the Greek Empire. This is the Persian Empire. Okay, and if we were looking at a map today, it stretches into Asia and India, the Middle East, and the north of Africa as well. So it is a huge, huge empire with lots and lots of people. Now, the Persians had such a big empire because they kept invading other places. So they would invade somewhere, take over that place, and their empire would continue to grow. And the Persians wanted to invade ancient Greece. They wanted to attack Athens because Athens was the capital of ancient Greece. They knew if they could take over Athens, they had a better chance of invading and ruling and taking over the whole of ancient Greece. Now, so the Persians came in from this way and they went in to attack Athens and try and take over ancient Greece. And the battle happened, if you look at our map here, there's this place called Marathon. Okay, they knew that to get to Athens, the best place to invade from was here, Marathon, because it was very, very close to Athens. Okay, and it happened in the Bay of Marathon, which is like a long stretch of beach along the place called Marathon. So, quick pause. We've got the Greeks uniting on one side. We've got the Persians, who are a much bigger empire, attacking from one side. And it all happened at a place called Marathon, which is on the Greek coast near Athens. Hopefully we've answered a couple of our questions so far. Let's continue to have a look then. So, as I said, the Persian Empire was much, much bigger than the Greek Empire. And that was shown in the number of soldiers that each side had. So we're going to look at something called a ratio. For every one Greek hoplite soldier, there were the equivalent of 10 Persian soldiers. So if there were 2 hoplites, there were 20 Persian warriors. Okay, so they were severely outnumbered, the Greeks. They didn't have the manpower. The Persians had many, many more soldiers than them. There were thousands and thousands and tens of thousands more Persian warriors. So this is our ratio for every one hoplite soldier. So if there were 1,000 hoplite soldiers, there would be 10,000 Persian soldiers. So down here, we've got our fact. The Greeks were severely outnumbered. Did not have anywhere near as many warriors as the Persians. Okay, so the Greeks are entering this battle with less warriors at the Battle of Marathon. So they needed to think really, really strategically and have really clear tactics, because if they just fought, the likelihood was that the Persians would just outnumber them and that they would win. However, this is where we go on to our learning around how the battle was won. So we've got the hoplite soldiers of ancient Greece. We've got the Persian warriors of the Persian Empire, and they met at the Bay of Marathon for this battle. And to start with, it was a bit of a stalemate. Okay, no one was really winning. So the Greeks decided they needed to think outside the box. So I've drawn just a little representation on my screen. So I'll let you have a look at it, and then I'm going to talk you through exactly how the Greeks won. So my orange boxes are the Greek hoplite soldiers, okay? And then, as you can see, my blue box, which is much bigger, is my Persian Empire. It's sort of Persian warriors. So the Persians thought, we're going to outnumber them here, and they just marched towards the Greeks, hoping that the Greeks would do the same. So the Persians attacked from this side, and they thought the Greeks were going to just attack from this side. However, this is where the Greeks' tactics, and we've already mentioned before that the Greeks were quite clever, okay? They're very strategic in what they did. But the Greeks realized that if they just marched towards the Persians, they were going to lose this battle quite convincingly. So what they did was some of the Greek soldiers did attack from the front. They marched towards the Persian soldiers. The Persians, they were sort of laughing, going, we're going to outnumber them here. However, the Greeks were very clever. They decided to split some of their hoplite soldiers and their archers and their bow and arrows, and they sent them around the sides of the Persian Empire. So they split, some went this way, some went this way, and the Persians couldn't see them coming. Okay, they went right around the edges, and they began to attack from the sides and behind. So suddenly, after thinking the Persians were just going to walk this battle because they had more men, the Greeks had been very, very clever and very strategic and very tactical. They split their soldiers this way, and attacked from the front. And they came around the sides and they came around the back of the Persian warriors and began to attack them from different angles. Now, they sort of cornered the Persians, and this tactic worked. Even though the Greeks were outnumbered, because of their strategic thinking and their intelligence, they were able to defeat this almighty and infamous and famous Persian Empire. The Persians had not been defeated before the Battle of Marathon, and they thought they were going to win again, but the Greeks showed otherwise. So the Greeks won the battle at the Bay of Marathon, but how did the rest of ancient Greece know that the battle had been won? The Greeks knew the battle had been won because this man here, and I'm going to have a go at his name, he was a soldier called Phidippides, famous warrior. He ran back from, let me show you, Marathon here to Athens. Okay, he ran from the Bay of Marathon all the way back to Athens to inform everybody else who wasn't fighting that the Greeks had defeated this famous army from Persia. Okay, and he ran 26.2 miles, which is a long way, and he still had all of his armor on. Okay, and he went and told everybody that the battle had been won. And this is really important because this is where the marathon that runners run today, this is where the name came from. Okay, and we know that the Greeks invented the Olympics, and this is where the marathon entered. So Phidippides ran from the Bay of Marathon, 26 miles back to Athens to inform everybody else. Then the Greeks knew that they had defeated this Persian Empire. Okay, a lot of talking from me there. Hopefully that makes sense. Don't worry, we're going to go back through each little bit. Right, we're going to do a task and we're going to complete it together. We are going to complete, as it said in our why, this cause and effect map. And I'm going to talk you through it, and then I'm going to show you on the visualizer what ours is going to look like. A cause and effect map is a model that we use, and it goes from the left-hand side of the page across to the right-hand side of the page. You can see my arrow here. Now, the events on this side are all the things that lead up or culminate. Okay, so lots of things happen, and then there's a major event or a situation because of all of these things. So our event that happened is the Battle of Marathon. So the Greeks won the Battle of Marathon, and after the Battle of Marathon, there were some effects or consequences of that. We're going to go through some of those now. So I'm just going to share my visualizer with you if I can. Okay, so let me make it a bit bigger actually. As you can see, I have got, well, it's a bit blurry on your screens, I apologize for that. Let me see if that works. No. Right. I've got Monday, the 8th of February, 2021 as my, sorry, you need a double page for this work. So in your books, make sure you've got a double page. My date, which is today, Monday, the 8th of February, 2021. February spelled correctly, and I've underlined it with a ruler. I've got my title of my wonder lesson, which is history here. Okay. And the first thing I've done is in the middle of my double page spread, I have written the Battle of Marathon. I'm really sorry that the quality is not great on this visualizer. The Battle of Marathon in the middle of my page, and I boxed it off using a ruler. Because we know that the Battle of Marathon is the event that we are looking at. So pause the video now whilst you do all of that on your page. And then we're going to start to look at this side about the event that led up to the Battle of Marathon. Now I'm just going to pause for 1 minute and then we will continue. So yours needs to look like mine. Date, history, underlined, Battle of Marathon across the middle of 2 pages. Okay, hopefully you have had some time to do that. And as I said, we're going to fill in some of the causes that occurred that made the Battle of Marathon happen. So the first thing we are going to add to our cause and effect map is that the Persians wanted to invade ancient Greece and attack Athens. So I'm going to write it. I'm not going to put my box around it until the end. In fact, we're not going to do a box. I'm going to write the Persian Empire. Can't see it, you'll have to listen to what I'm saying. I do apologize about the quality of my visualizer. I'll be asking Miss Ryan for a new one. The Persian Empire wanted to invade, which means take over, ancient Greece, need the capital, and attack Athens, which we know is the capital. So there we have our first cause. Now I am really, really sorry about the quality of this visualizer. The Persian Empire wanted to invade ancient Greece and attack Athens. That is our first cause. Okay. Now, the next one. Okay. We said right at the start that the city-state, remember that word I used? United. So our next one is going to be, and we're still on this side, we're looking at our causes. So, the city states united, which means came together. The city-states united to take on the Persian Empire. Okay. So there we have our first two. You need to add those onto yours now, please. So I'll recap for you. If you can't quite see, let me try this again. No. The Persian Empire wanted to invade ancient Greece and attack Athens. Next one. The city-states united to take on the Persian Empire. Then be full stop, please, Mr. Martin. And then our third and final cause of this one is that, let's see, our final cause is that we said the Persian Empire, remember, they were undefeated and they were huge. So the Persian Empire were undefeated and had many more soldiers. So were confident of defeating anybody. They thought that no matter who stood in their way, they could defeat them. So here we have our 3 causes on the left-hand side of our map. Now, I'm going to use my ruler, draw an arrow, because all of these things led to the Battle of Marathon, which is our event in the middle. So using your ruler, you need your 3 lines, 1, 2, 3, coming from. You can also make them into an arrow to show the direction. Okay, pause the video now, please, while you write up your 3 causes on your left-hand side that led to the Battle of Marathon. Then we'll have a look at our effects on this side. So quick recap, the Persian Empire wanted to invade ancient Greece and attack Athens. The city-states united to take on the Persian Empire, and the Persian Empire were undefeated and had many more soldiers, so were confident of defeating anybody, everybody. Right, pause the video while you do that now, please. Okay, hopefully you have had some time to do that. So we're now going to move onto our right-hand side, which is this side of our page. So we've got our causes. Now the battle has happened here. This is our event, significant event. We're now going to draw the outcomes or the effects or the consequences of the war. The first one is the Battle of Marathon. The Battle of Marathon showed the Persians could be defeated. So next time the Persians wanted to try and invade somewhere, other places weren't as afraid of them. And I apologize again for the quality of this visualizer. The Battle of Marathon showed the Persians could be defeated. That is one effect or outcome of the Battle of Marathon. Okay, you can write them up in a minute. Let's go through them. Another one. Other empires now feared the Greeks. Okay? So before they were like, oh yeah, the Greeks. But now that the Greeks had defeated this famous Persian Empire, other empires were a bit, whoa, hold on, let's not go to battles with them. Other empires now feared the Greeks. Okay. Another one is that we said about the marathon. It was the starting point for the marathon, which we still see today. Okay, 26.2 miles. That's how far Philippides ran back. And that is still the distance of a marathon. Okay, ask anybody that's ran a marathon. I have not. And it is a long, long way. So it was the starting point for the marathon, which we still see today. And our final effect or consequence or outcome is that the Greeks now felt safer and could start a civilization. Now, civilization is where they settle down and they think, okay, we're safe now, we can begin to set up exactly how we want. And this last one leads us nicely, because next half term, after you've had your week off, we're going to continue and we're going to look at civilization. So we're going to look at where they live, the houses, the communities, the clothes, the artwork, the pottery. So we've done all about ancient Greece, where it was, who it was. Now we're going to begin to look at the civilization. But because they won the Battle of Marathon and they defeated the Persians, they could now set up a civilization, art of civilization. And the final thing to do, with my ruler again, you need to draw your lines coming off the Battle of Marathon and put your arrows on. And there, sorry, you can copy yours up now. Yours should look something along the lines of this. So let's have a quick recap of our cause and effect map. The causes on this side, significant event, effects. The Persians wanted to invade ancient Greece and attack Athens. City-states united to take on the Persian Empire, and the Persians were undefeated and had many more soldiers, so they thought they were going to win. These things led to the Battle of Marathon, which was a stalemate until the Greeks decided to think practically. The Greeks won. The outcomes of winning the battle are that it showed the Persians could be defeated. The Greeks were now feared by other empires. Oh, I don't want to mess with the Greeks. Starting place of the marathon and the beginning of Greek civilization. So this is what you need to do. Exactly like mine. I'd like a ruler for the lines, please. And can you send it over on Class Dojo for me? Go back and watch any of the video again if you need. I'm just going to go back to our questions to see if we can answer them. So, share screen. At the beginning of the lesson, we said that we were going to look at these questions. So let's hopefully we can answer them. Who was it between? The Greeks and the Persians. Where did it happen? A place called Marathon in the bay, which is the beach area. How did the Greeks win? They used their brains and they went around the sides and attacked from the back. How many soldiers? 1 Greek soldier or hoplite soldier for 10 Persians. And who told them? Philippides. Right, quite a long history lesson there, but it's a really, really important event in ancient Greece. I'd like you to take your time with it. You've got all afternoon. Send over your finished cause and effect maps. Thank you. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.